Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of the Hong Kong Sevens. This one's an exciting one. South Africa taking on the newly promoted Uruguay. And this game could be very entertaining. In the last 5 matchups between these two sides, every single time South Africa have put a massive total on the Uruguayans. But the thing is, Uruguay in those last 5 fixtures have not scored a single point on the board. So this game could certainly be one that they are able to change it. Looking through at the South African lineup, it is going to be Makata, JC Pretorius, Christy Hrobala. Also there, Selvin Davids returns into the 7th side. Nudlovu, Ronald Brown, and then Van Veek will be the last man in that starting lineup. Then for the Uruguayans, it will be Ardau, also Kuban, Echeverri, Liechtenstein, Braziones, I believe it is, Vinals, and also Alvarez will be the last man in that starting lineup. But these two sides, it is a lovely evening in Hong Kong, and they want to put on a show for the crowd who are watching. The Blitzboks back in action. They did have a decent competition not too long ago, but they seem to be a little bit up and down like a roller coaster at the moment. The Blitzboks trying to find that consistency that brought them a lot of success at the start of 2022. But Ronald Brown, he'll be fired up, got a lot of strapping on that right knee. Hopefully the leg holds together for the rest of this competition. I think Selvin Davids is going to be a star throughout this matchup. And the interesting thing is he hasn't got his partner in crime, Angelo Davids. He has been playing for the Stormers throughout the URC competition, which does mean that I guess that combination that was very handy for them. Every time Selvin Davids set up Angelo Davids, it was normally due to some miracle pass, beautiful play from Selvin that helped Angelo out. He hasn't been scoring as many tries since going to the Stormers. There is a reason for that. He hasn't got Selvin with him, but it is going to be Uruguay who will be kicking off this game now. And new tongue twisters with the Uruguay team, says Nazi Williams. It is indeed, but I think we're going to have to get used to them because they won the Challenger Series to get into this competition, and they will now be trying to make the absolute most of it. I should mention that the face of the Nels has taken a bit of a knock recently, hence why he has got the slight protection, similar to what we saw, or not really similar. I was going to say similar to what we saw for the Kenyan player, but he actually had the goggles rather than the face structure holder, I guess you could call it. But now going to be a nice step. They've got Sawyers Wapi coming off the bench here for the Blitzboks. Great counteract from Uruguay. And like I mentioned, they have never scored themselves a try up against the South Africans. The last 5 times, including way back to 2002, they cannot break the Springboks defense, but this could be their first opportunity. Now driving up nicely, it's going back for the initial penalty. It's going to be 20 offside. That is Shilton Van Veek, and also 40-5 South Africa is the score prediction from Greg and in the chat as well. I should mention the next game we are covering, it will be Samoa versus New Zealand. That is a huge game on the 7th circuit, that is for sure. And it could be a massive deciding one as those two sides also have Australia and Hong Kong in their group. I think it's going to be a 3-horse race, though, between the Australians, the Kiwis, and also the Manu Samoans. It looks like they are just trying to slow this one down a little bit here. Uruguay makes sure that they do have exactly what they want to do in mind going into the scrum. Hoping to get a good push going, and it's gone in, and it's come out the back. Uruguay now space on the outside. Great run from the number 7. Almost able to break through. 5 meters out from the line here. Uruguay looking to score the first try of the contest. An offload. Oh, it's been dropped though. It almost was history for the Uruguayans. Echeverri unable to hang on to it. And come on, Uruguay. At least one try 2002. Ages gone, says Nazi Williams. And that's the thing. Even before 2002, I don't believe they had scored a point up against South Africa. So maybe first ever points were so close, just a knock on away is at the top for each group goes through. So that's the top 2 sides go through to the quarterfinal of the 4 pools, which means of New Zealand, Australia, and Samoa, one of those sides will be missing out on making it to the quarterfinals. But Selvin Davids feeding the ball in for South Africa. However, on their own goal line, and Ronald Brown actually going with the launching boot downfield, looking for touch, and he's going to find it on the halfway line. Very good kick downfield from Ronald Brown, but a different tactic that we don't normally see from the Blitzboks. I feel like they are definitely respecting what Uruguay are throwing at them throughout the first couple minutes of this game. And hey, Hamish, again, new team for Rugby 7 Series. Says Brandon, it is indeed. Uruguay doing very well in that Challenger Series that took place earlier in the year and have now qualified as one of the top sides. And by the top sides, I mean I believe it's the top 14, or sorry, top 16 sides that do take place in this series. Now, Uruguay, wide cutout pass. It's another knock on. Unfortunately, this time it was, in the end, Braziones, who wasn't able to hang on to the ball. And those little mistakes from Uruguay will definitely be costing them later on in this game. As South Africa get more position, we're going to see them start to break them down methodically. Don't know whether or not that pass was actually meant for Braziones there. It looked like more than likely they were trying to fire it on the outside to Vanals, but it's going to be the knock-on. And now South Africa, they have got the ball inside of the half of Uruguay for one of the first times of this contest. Ronald Brown going to be feeding in the scrum feed. Currently sitting 3.5 minutes into the contest, still even between these two sides. But for how long is the big question. Now Selvin Davids trying to spin out of the tackle. Good low tackle, though, made by the Uruguayan captain. Now, looking off to the side, JC Pretorius going right. Has been tackled well, though, by Cubbin. Now, Robela goes back to Ronald Brown. Now on the midfield, nice step from the number 13, Udlovu, still going forward for the Blitzboks. Ronald Brown looking off to the right now. If he had found the pass on the outside there, Makata, it could have been dangerous. It's been lost backwards by the Blitzboks. Now slinging that pass. That was an ugly flying ball right there. I think that one, he almost reverse spun it. I don't think I've ever seen that kind of pass made before. At what time is Samoa and New Zealand playing sets fire? It is taking place in 25 minutes time. So we will be starting our live stream in 20, but 25 minutes till the kickoff of this matchup, or of that matchup. It's the first time ever Uruguay had a seven side. No, they've been, every once in a while, they make their way onto the circuit pretty much through the Challenger system. This is the first time, though, in a little while since they have had themselves the opportunity on the biggest stage. As well, and also what game you're streaming on Saturday night, the Samoa versus Italy game, or Fiji versus Scotland. They both start at the same time, says Xavier. They do, and here's a sad fact, I guess you could say. If we were to cover either of them, we would only be able to cover the first half, as we have got Papua New Guinea versus England, the quarterfinal of the Rugby League World Cup that we will be covering on the channel. So if I was to do it, it would only be 40 minutes of one of those games. So I don't know whether or not I want to do half a game rather than being able to do the full match, just because I know it will annoy people if I can only do half of a matchup rather than the full game. Now it's going to be Ronald Brown throwing it to the back. JC Pretorius takes it nicely, gives it back to Brown. 22 meters out, Selvin Davids now slings it across all. Okay, that's going to be going back, in fact, for a penalty for offside in favor of the Blitzboks. I believe they decided they lost too many meters there, and now with 1 minute 20 left in this matchup, for the first half, that is. It is going to be Ronald Brown now kicking for touch. Come on, Uruguay. Don't want to wait another 20 years. And also, wait, what Union games are you streaming then? Says Xavier. So, of the Union games, we are going to be doing the All Blacks versus Ireland 15 game tomorrow morning at 8:45. Also, alongside that, we have got France versus New Zealand for the women's quarterfinal. We are going to be doing the All Blacks versus Wales. First half going to be covered by my parents. Second half covered by myself. Then we are doing South Africa versus Ireland and Australia versus France. So we've still got a lot of Union that we are doing on the channel. It is just going to be scattered throughout. JC Pretorius does nicely there with another low tackle made by Echeverri. Now Robela going back across to Brown. Davids in the midfield, steps beautifully. It's going to be a foot race, and he's going to win it. Selvin Davids, Kuba not able to catch him. And that will be the first try of the match for the Blitzboks. It's taken 6.5 minutes for them to be able to break through, but they've finally been able to do it. And the try goes to that man, Selvin Davids. They will be extremely happy to see him back in the lineup. Let's go Springbok Sevens, and let's go Samoa for the next one, says Brandon. Rugby Sevens said they're not to middle night. And what time do All Blacks kick off, says Brandon. So the All Blacks versus Wales game, the actual All Blacks that is, rather than the All Blacks 15, they will be kicking off at 4:15 a.m. on Sunday morning, New Zealand time. Whereas the All Blacks 15, they are going to be kicking off at 8:45 a.m. tomorrow morning. Selvin Davids, though, doing very nicely there, running hard, breaking through the line and scoring the lone try of the first half. That's going to be 7-0 going into halftime, ladies and gentlemen, in this game. Oh, no, we've still got one more play. So there's still a bit of potential for the South Africans and Uruguay to get themselves maybe one last crack. It's going to be nicely taken by Uruguay, just forced into touch. And that is going to be halftime, 7-0 in favor of the Blitzboks. They're doing very nicely here up against the Uruguayans. You'd have to say they'll be disappointed to not be up by more points than they are currently. But at the end of the day, Uruguay, they had a very good chance of scoring themselves a point up against South Africa there. I'm just going to quickly check the odds. Before the match started, Uruguay were $29 underdogs. Now they are $38 underdogs. And I feel like the thing is, South Africa to win by 15 plus is $1.50. But Uruguay are right in this up until they either get fatigued or they make a couple mistakes. Then I'd say that's where South Africa will be able to run away with the contest. Alofa Lova, Hamish. And also, you sound like you got the energy, or you got a lot of energy, bro. Good luck for the rest of the night. Up the Manu. And there, as I says, Kenny Toto. And also, we have got the qualifier start this weekend. Who's getting that last spot? For me, out of USA, Kenya, Hong Kong, or USA, Kenya, Hong Kong, or there's the other team. Oh, I've now forgotten. I feel really bad. USA, Kenya, Hong Kong, and this team. Is it Uruguay? Are they the last team that could qualify? Because if it is, or is it Chile? Who's got that last spot, ladies and gentlemen? Do let me know. I'm sure I can find it very quickly, but we'll see whether or not you guys know who it is. I think for me, it's probably either USA or the team Portugal. That's a side. That was shocking for myself. I think it's either USA or Portugal who have got it. Hong Kong, I see them as a good side, but I don't know whether they're good enough to be able to qualify. And Chile beat USA, remember. Yeah, those were a couple close games, weren't they? Going down to the wire, and then Chile able to get themselves the nice victory on aggregate. And also, we are getting a really big episode of the show. Do you see, are we not doing show of last month? Says Brandon there. And also, let's go Springboks Sevens can. Says Brandon there. But 20 minutes away, New Zealand versus Samoa. That's going to be an entertaining 1.5. Hong Kong play the Australians. That is going to be in 48 minutes time, but we won't actually be covering that one on the channel. We will be watching it, though. See exactly who is able to get themselves the victory there. But South Africa 7-0 at the moment is how they sit at halftime. I would say if they get any less than 3 tries in the second half, they would consider that relatively disappointing. Uruguay still chasing their first point up against the Springboks for the first time in over 20 years. So no, England, Scotland, Wales team, no. They are just Great Britain, and they were beaten about 34 points to 0 against France, unfortunately. So it's going to take a little bit of time for that team to gel. Also, Jamie Farndale getting injured, which was one of their keys. And how can you see Rugby Sevens on Sky Sports? Says Brandon, it is on Sky Sport 1 at the moment. So I do recommend checking that out. Or on the Rugby Sevens Circuit's website. The World Sevens Series, that is. Penalty goes the way of Uruguay. Player off his feet. This is a part of Pool B at the moment. Also in this pool, I believe France and Great Britain both find themselves in that one. So it's going to be a tough group. I think France versus South Africa, though, or France and South Africa are going to be the two who make their way through. You would probably enjoy doing both, but you prefer doing the 7 shorter game or the full, but do you prefer doing the 7 shorter games or the full 80-minute games? You passionate dude about this, I assume. Both right, says Nazi Williams. Yeah, if I had to pick either, I would pick both. But if I had to pick just one, I think it depends on the game. Like, there's nothing better than watching a good old-fashioned sevens battle for 14 minutes and then knowing that you get to do another one straight afterwards. I think that's the best thing about it. If there's a whole heap of handling errors, it's 14 minutes, and then the next game can be completely different. Union, though, 18 minutes, it's kind of that chess match that just seems to really, I guess, intrigue you and get you lured in. That's a nice wide ball, and Shelton Van Veek now down the wing will score the try for the Blitzboks. That is their first of the second half, and it only took 1 minute 30. Who's likely to win Hong Kong Sevens this year? I think Fiji is still right up there. They are defending champs about 5 times in a row, and they want to continue that streak. I would say, though, it's for me either Fiji, New Zealand, or I kind of want to see Samoa take one out. Although it would mean that they'd have to beat New Zealand in this next game, which I guess I would be all right with, only if they go on and make their way all the way to the final and win it. And looking forward to the weekend. Says Bad Guy there. Yeah, there's a lot of great games. Right, I have to go, but we'll be back for the big game, said Greg. We will see you a little bit later on, mate. Is there anywhere else to watch the ABs versus 15 or Ireland A? Stand not showing. So probably Sky Sport in New Zealand's your only bet in that regard, or maybe, I'm not even sure if they're showing it in the Irish side of things. Is it BT Sport that they've got in Ireland, or is there another one? There's a radio one, I think. Maybe a BBC? Not too sure, though. And also you've got the option of Amazon Prime, I think, is another one And also we have got the RTE is showing, Island fame. And there's, RTE sounds like it is the other option. Checkers and chess. Nice answer, says Nuzzy Williams. What matches are you streaming this weekend, says Ed. We have got a lot of matches. As soon as we have another relatively long stoppage, I will let you know exactly what matches we have got. But we've got Sevens, the Women's Rugby World Cup, the Rugby League World Cup, and also the Rugby Union Internationals all taking place on the channel. The line out has been taken now. Van Vick goes across to Selvin Davids. I just bit my tongue. That's unfortunate. These Uruguayan names linking up with the Blitzboks now. Christy Hrobala runs it hard at the line, and he's got plenty of space. Actually got a new number on his back as well, number 14, rather than either 2 or 3 like he's had for a relatively long time. Someone else must have taken that jersey off him. Now, Uruguay, a metre or so out from their line. It's going to be tough for them. JC Pretorius, in fact, it's Ryan Esterhazen, tries to drive him down. Right. They've just managed to survive there, Uruguay, but now it's going to be a 5-metre scrum for the Blitzboks. They have gone time off. Right, so the games that we are covering of the weekend, I'll say in general sevens, just because to list every single game would take quite a while for those ones. But we have got the All Blacks A, or All Blacks 15 versus Ireland A game tomorrow morning, on the Saturday morning, that is. Then we have got France versus New Zealand for the Women's Rugby League World Cup semi-final. Also, alongside that, we are going to be doing the Papua New Guinea versus England Rugby League World Cup matchup. And then also All Blacks versus Wales, Australia versus France, and South Africa versus Ireland. That's going to be the try now for Ronald Brown. They took the quick tap there, and just no one was about. They might check this. Did Ronald Brown just drop this over the goal line? He's just gone like this. I don't think Ronald Brown scored it. I think he's just made a monumental mistake. Even though it may not cost them the game, I think he's just dropped it. He's lost the ball, Ronald Brown, and that is a shocker for him. Unfortunately, he took it too casually. He took the tap. There was no one defending, and he's pretty much tackled himself. I think it's the best way of describing it. Come on, the Springboks next is Dubai. Then Hamilton is a 2. Next Rugby 7 series. Sees Brandon there as well. But also alongside that, the later games of the Saturday, I should say, or the Sunday, or in fact Monday morning New Zealand time, we are going to be covering Tonga versus Samoa and also England versus Argentina. We're going to have a guest commentator for one of those matches. Now, there's going to be Liechtenstein, feeds the ball in for Uruguay. They still aren't completely out of this game, but they need themselves some points relatively soon on the board. Even getting a try, though, up against South Africa would be massive for them. Trying to step through now. Nice run forward. I believe it was the big man. And number 1, Deuce. It's going to bounce up, though, to Ronald Brown. Right, can he put the ball down properly? This time he sure does. And that is going to be another try for the Blitzboks. Okay, he's put the fingers in the ears, so he is just taunting the crowd a little bit. That won't make him the most popular man out there on the field, I wouldn't think. But 19-0 now in favour of South Africa. I think it's starting to become more and more like the scoreline a lot of people would have been expecting for the Blitzboks in this game. But Ronald Brown, he scores a try. And yeah, was very happy. I mean, the celebration, it wasn't quite as good as the Jordan Conroy one that we saw earlier on. The man did a backflip while celebrating, but 1 minute 50 left. Ronald Brown able to get that one over with the conversion, and now it makes the score 21-0 favour of the Blitzboks. The next game that we are covering on the channel, ladies and gentlemen, will be starting in about 8 minutes' time. Samoa versus New Zealand, an absolutely massive clash of two sides that certainly have the potential of going on to win this competition. It's going to be nicely taken there by the Uruguayans. I believe that one for the ball in hand was Facialo. I'm not too sure whether or not I pronounced that correctly. Some of these names, I guess they'll slowly start to roll off the tongue as we see Uruguay on the circuit for longer, moving up to the halfway line now. Christy Hrobala trying to get that ball back. It's going to be another knock on. Little mistake. Oh, okay, looks like number 3 not too happy in that one. Impy Visa, referee telling him to calm down, as he probably should. I don't know why he's so angry. It's 21-0. Smile, mate. And also, we've got the Hey Hamish, what's your favourite sport/team to do commentary on? I would say, Rugby Sevens is always great to be able to commentate on. Rugby Union is right up there as well. Rugby League, I've had a lot of fun doing that recently. And also the cricket's an old school one that we used to do a bit of. I don't know what I enjoy the most. I guess it's any time we have like a couple people in the chat or more just pretty much talking to us about the game. I feel like that's what makes the live streams that much better than like we could have the boringest game of rugby ever on the channel, right? But if we've got 10 of you guys chatting along, like it just makes it so much more fun. And I feel like, you know, you could have the best game ever, but if it's only me who gets to witness it and no one's in the chat, I feel like it's the same thing. You know, you feel like you're missing something from doing so many. And also one more try, boys. One more. Says Nazi Williams. Yeah, I mentioned that they'd be disappointed if they had any less than 3 in the second half. They've only had the 2. And now Uruguay looking to try and get themselves the 1 try. It's going to be the penalty in favor of Uruguay. Taking the quick tap. Firing it across. Adal. Moving up into the half of the Blitzboks. Good carry. Ryan Oosterhuizen almost over the ball. Doesn't get it though. And Uruguay, it seems like their handling is probably the thing that's going to let them down the most throughout the 7th circuit as they keep on going. Good warm-up game for the Bok then. Says Kingy Top. Yeah, but they've certainly got things that they will want to make sure they improve on before their next game. Now, nice little step there. Out on the wing. Uragi. That was too much tongue roll. Now back across. Uruguay still attacking. The draw and pass is looking nice, but straight onto the ball there. Penalty to Uruguay again. It's Virgin Media that show the Island A game tonight, not RTE. Says James there. And also boring game, but KOC Topic lights it up with your commentary and guitar, says Nazi Williams. Yeah, see, that's the thing. Sometimes it's the boring games that we have the most fun on. That's close to the line for Uruguay. Straight over the ball, though, and the penalty is one. I believe it was Branco de Pereira who was able to get over it. South Africa may just take the tap and kick this one out because they've been in a battle out there on the field. Even though the scoreboard says 21-0, South Africa don't want to risk anymore, and they will kick this one into touch, ending the matchup 21 points to 0 in favor of the Blitzboks. But nonetheless, thank you all very much for tuning in. In 5 minutes' time, we are going to be popping over for our next live stream. That is going to be the matchup between the All Black Sevens or New Zealand Sevens, depending on how you look at it. And also, it is going to be up against the Samoans. And also, okay, no, says Victoria. And there as well. And also, I can't say Uruguay didn't have a chance, says Nazi Williams here. All they needed was that one catch, and it would have been their first points up against South Africa. But they weren't quite able to get the job done. But thank you all very much for tuning in. We will be popping over to our next live stream in a very short moment. So we'll see you all for the next one.